Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. I'm going to be looking at a couple of things that are happening this week coming up in March. I used to do these every week, and because I've started a membership and I've been busy, thank goodness, I'm grateful for that. Um, I will also be appearing on Susan Lynn's um, community that she has um, separate from YouTube. If you're interested in that, you can just go to her channel. She mentions it all the time. Um, and so I've been what is that? Juggling. Been juggling a lot of projects. I have a couple of classes going on. I'm going to be starting my climbing the Tree of Life class for those people who have taken my introduction to the Tree of Life. So there's lots of things going on, and I feel a little bit bad that I haven't been able to get some of these big astrological things out. Now, I did do a video on Venus retrograde for my members. I did that last week, and I'm going to be putting that on the regular channel for everybody to see. If you're a member, you will get things first. But for the most part, I'm going to try to share as much as I can. Some of the stuff I did a reading looking at the astrology and Kabbalah of Luigi Mangione and also Brian Thompson and that whole situation um, from the perspective of astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah to give myself and my members maybe a deeper understanding or a different perspective on that whole thing up to this point anyway, because it's still an ongoing thing. That stuff, I'm feeling that I might want to just keep that on the membership, just so that I don't get, I don't know, my hand slapped. Now, anytime I didn't say anything that would get my hand slapped, I don't think. But what I think is okay to say, and what the changing energy and the you know as things as the Trump administration starts to coalesce a little bit more, if in fact they ever do, which, I don't know, would have to do a reading on that. It may be harder to get some information out without getting your hand slapped or getting your channel demonetized. And considering that this is one of the primary ways that I make a living, I do have to be careful with that. So just so you guys know that. But I am going to look at a couple of things that are happening this week astrologically. So let's just sort of jump into that if we can. And I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're just going to, let's see here. What do I want to do? Okay, I think this is it. Okay, come on now. All right, good. So before I jump into this, I just want to thank all my subscribers who have been with me for years. I do so appreciate your support. For my new subscribers, welcome. You're going to find a lovely community. And even if you choose not to do a membership, there's a lot of cool things that happen on this channel. I do a moon shadows episode for every new moon. With Ona, who does a moonshine episode for every full moon. She'll be doing the moonshine episode this coming week because we have on the 14th we have a lunar eclipse, which we're going to look at today as well. Maybe not as in depth, but we're going to look at it. And we have Mystic Sisters on Saturday nights, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. In fact, it is Saturday as I'm doing this. And so if you want to join us tonight, you can. If you can't join us live, there's always a recording. This week, it's going to be on Ona's channel, so you do have to go to her channel to see to see Mystic Sisters. All right, so let's look at March 11th, okay? This is Tuesday. What's happening March 11th is that Mercury and Venus are going to be making a conjunction. Now, Venus at the beginning of the month made a retrograde station. I'm going to be uh, putting that out today for all of you to take a look at. Um, but it occurred at 9 degrees. I mean, I'm sorry, the retrograde occurred at hold on, I can look at it right here. When hold on, I have it in the same place here. Hold on one second. Oh, here we go. Venus stationed retrograde at, where are you, Venus? Venus. Uh no, that's Venus stationing. Oh, sorry. This is when it stations direct. Sorry. I didn't go back far enough. Okay. This is part of some of the stuff you'll see. 3 degrees. Nope, that's not it either. Oh dear. Where are we here? Okay, Venus station retrograde, 11 degrees of Aries, the power of self-discipline. Okay, so that was something that happened. Um, let's see, Venus joins the sun. All right, that's later. Okay, sorry about this, guys. I will get to where we need to be. All right. So now Venus is moving retrograde, and Venus has moved retrograde to 9 degrees, where it meets up with Mercury. Now Mercury is moving direct, but at the end of this week, Mercury stations retrograde on the 15th. Beware the Ides of March. Um, but right now it's at on the 11th, which is Tuesday this week. It's moving direct and it makes a conjunction to Venus. Now, Venus and Mercury are the inner planets, and so they can't ever really be too far away from each other from our perspective on planet Earth. And so they're the majority of the exact aspects that happen with Venus and Mercury are conjunctions, semi-squares, I think, and maybe sextiles. I'm not sure of that, so put a pin in that. The conjunction occurs at 9 degrees of Aries, and the Sabian symbol is a crystal gazer. Being able to see the whole picture, the mature psychic can interpret scenes and scenarios in a holistic context. This perspective is not given to one lost in narcissistic self-love and obsessed with self-projection. That sounds pretty apt for where we're at these days, doesn't it? And then the ruler of Mars, the ruler of Aries, which is Mars, whenever I see two planets conjoined in a sign, I like to see what the ruler of that sign is doing. And in this case, the ruler is at 19 degrees of Cancer. Remember, Mars just turned direct on February 23rd. And as it turned direct, we started seeing the angry expressions in the town halls where the Republicans were booing their Republican, representatives. So we saw an upwelling of emotions and feelings and expressing those feelings. Those feelings will continue to be expressed this week and will probably come to some sort of crescendo, if not the crescendo, but a crescendo when we have the eclipse. Now, the ruler of Aries at 19 of Cancer, a priest performing a marriage ceremony, sanctifying a code of conduct. There is a certain code of conduct that we as Americans feel that is our code of conduct. And a lot of that code of conduct has been getting shredded by the Trump administration and by Elon Musk. And while they're what they say they're doing may sound like a good idea to some people, as they're doing it, it's just completely causing chaos and confusion. So it's not It's working, but maybe not in the way they intended, or perhaps it is the way they intended. But for us, on the other side of this, we're watching really everything that uh, we stand for, or thought we stood for, or are, if not stood for, certainly that were important to our sense of values. Remember, Venus retrograde is a reevaluation of the values. And one of the values, Venus retrograde in Aries, is self-determination. Okay, so this is, we're looking at it and saying, wait a minute, land of the free, home of the brave. Not, it doesn't look so much. And really, if you happen to be lucky enough to have believed that you were land of the free and home of the brave, and didn't have experiences that contradicted that, it's a real smack in the face. Those of us who have had to fight for, and we all have to fight for our right to be and our right for liberty. It's a continuous fight. But for those who have been traditionally sort of underserved, underrepresented, it's not a shock. It's not a shock, okay? And so for those who are being shocked by this, it's especially important, I think, for you to have your voice heard in whatever way that you can, and on a certain level, in whatever way you're capable of doing. Now, so this is important because Venus is the heart and Mercury is the mind. So this is the mind and the heart coming together for us to see the whole picture, to see things in context. And it's very hard sometimes to see things in context because we're getting inundated with so much imagery and so much information, and not all of it is true. So there's that part of it. So at a certain point, I think one of the things that Venus retrograde and then eventually Mercury retrograde is requiring us to do is to quiet, right? In the case of Venus, perhaps quiet the fear of loss, and sort of look into our own hearts and see uh, what is truly of value and what we're willing to fight for, because that's what Aries is about. It's about fighting for the right to be. Okay. All right. So on the 12th, the sun. So the 12th is what, Wednesday? I didn't write Grace. Wednesday. Okay. So on Wednesday, we have a sun conjunct Saturn. Now, this is important because the sun conjunct Saturn at the eclipse, which is happening in 2 days from Wednesday, the sun and Saturn are still within orb of a conjunction. Now, the sun and Saturn come together every year to start the synodic cycle between the sun and Saturn. The sun is the core of our beingness. It's the life giver. It's the center of our solar system. And Saturn is the limitation, is the limit, sort of the limitation of 3 dimensions. We can't see any planets past Saturn unless we use the aid of a telescope. And so Saturn is often considered the edge of our reality, right? And Saturn is also the planet of time. We live in a time, we are here for a certain amount of time on planet Earth, and then we reincarnate, and disincarnate and reincarnate and disincarnate. Part of the reason is, as spirit, the fine vibration of spirit can only maintain itself in the physical form for so long before it has to leave, and then it comes back. And so it's hard work. And for those of us who decided to incarnate, give yourself a pat on the back. It doesn't matter what side of the divide you're on, you're here, and you came here, and you were meant to be here to bear witness and be part of the awakening that is happening. Okay? So we have the sun conjunct Saturn, giving us a view of the reality that we are in. Now, this is occurring at 23 degrees of Pisces And it says a materializing medium giving a seance. This is the Sabian symbol. And this is what it says. Now, I get this whole long thing from a really great website, James Burgess. He has a whole bunch of stuff on the Sabian symbols. And that's not the only thing he's on that website. So if you want to explore the website, it's definitely worth an exploration. But he says about this degree, our grasp on the nature of reality is a blend of intuitive and the taught. And if we want to establish the truth of our unique take on life, there has to be, then we have to substantiate what we think or feel is true. In the new age, there are many hopeful yearnings for a new way forward and a real and ready to grasp straws, believing in absurdities and trusting their untested intuition to an unrealistic degree. Such blind faith has more to do with blindness than faith. There are more charlatans and fools that are than there are wise and honest teachers and healers. And even the sincere leaders may not be fully awakened and be missing various pieces of the jigsaw. The real ones are typified by their willingness to serve, often expending significantly on their vital energies. And I think that is a reminder for all of us who serve that it does take a lot out of us. And for those who put themselves out, like myself and the other readers and the other astrologers, who are really just trying to help people see the predicaments that we find ourselves in from a different perspective, perhaps a larger perspective. Um, we do this because we are doing this to be of service, and we have to appreciate our readers. We're not always right. We have our own um, we have our own prejudices, I guess, and perspectives. But there is a certain amount of pureness of heart. And when let's take a look now. But I just want to look at this here. This is actually the chart for the U.S. This conjunction is happening in the first house. Um, and we can see it's very close to the North Node. It's very close within orb of a conjunction to Neptune as well. Here's Venus and Mercury that just the day before had conjoined. There's Chiron. Chiron is very much still in orb with the Chiron of the United States. Chiron here is at 2111. The United States Chiron is at 20, I think 9. So we're still in the midst of our Chiron return. Here's Uranus in Taurus, very close to Caput Algol. Algol, the demon star. It's also going to be moving on to Donald Trump's Mars soon. And the last time that happened was the 15th of July. Was that when the thing happened in Butler? And here, of course, is Mars moving direct now and making a trine to the Sun and Saturn, making a trine Sun Saturn. And eventually, not this week, but next week, Mars is going to be making that trine to Saturn. It made the trine to the Sun yesterday, late yesterday. All right, so just to give you perspective on the chart, because I'm talking but not really talking about the chart too much. And then we have the full moon on the 14th. The day is a 26/8. That is the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is associated with mutable fire and the sign of Sagittarius. Is anything in Sagittarius? Well, the ascendant is in Sagittarius for this chart. And this is on the galactic center. The galactic center is right around here. So there's a lot of galactic energy, and I've been watching a few of the readers and different psychics, and they keep talking about this blue wave that's coming, or this blue energy, or this blue light coming across the cosmos. I think that's the blue wave that we all felt was coming, but I think maybe we misread it as the blue wave of the Democrats and Kamala. But oh boy, didn't it feel good? Didn't it feel good when we were coming together and and dreaming the dream of a more integrated world where we get along and we're helping each other and we're growing and we're building and we're making the world a safer place, not just, well, I don't know about militarily because she didn't really talk about that, but certainly from the perspective of, you know, our relationship to planet Earth, and the like. That felt so good. And then when we got the door slammed in our face, and a lot of us fell back on our on our backs like turtles, and it took a while for us to get up. But the vision is there. The vision is there, and we need a vision. We need that kind of vision to move through this time. Okay, so on the 14th, the full moon lunar eclipse, also a blood moon, at 24 degrees Virgo, Mary and her little lamb. This is the spiritual practice of innocence. Innocence, right? The more we progress in spiritual maturity, the more we radiate childlike qualities and purity of spirit, the spiritual practice of innocence. You know, even in the Bible, Jesus said, if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must become like the child. And that is the innocence and joy of life. It's not cynicism. It's like believing that we can do this if we do it together in connection with others. Now, full moons are always points of enlightenment. This is an eclipse. Okay, the moon is at the south node, so something is going to have to be released, and it has a Virgo energy. Perhaps the need to be perfect, the need to be perfect before we do something, right? We need to sort of let that go. North node in Pisces, believing, having a vision, right? Having an ideal, but with a healthy dose of reality, the sun conjunct Saturn, as to the real situation we're in and the real direness that we face. Now, with Uranus here, Uranus is trining the south node, sextiling the north node. Uranus is helping us to break free from the doubt. Okay. Um, and then the sun is at 24 degrees of Pisces, conjunct the north node. So this is actually north node eclipse season in that we're moving into the unknown future. And it certainly feels that way. On a small island surrounded by a vast expanse of sea, people are living in close interaction, self-identification. We must choose how to interrelate with others, and so the need arises for an acceptable yet authentic identity. Use conflict as a means to learn compassionate acceptance. The nodes of the moon are in the signs of Virgo and Pisces, and that is the axis of healing. And so we're asking ourselves for healing, mental healing, emotional healing, physical healing, healing of the earth. Okay? All right. And then this here is where the eclipse will be seen. The whole eclipse is visible in the Americas. Okay? This is where the eclipse is happening. All of America, including Hawaii. I mean, this is as all American as you can get. And then there's our friends in Canada and our friends in Mexico. And then there's Panama. Oh, even Greenland. Okay. And of course, South America. And so this is highlighted with this full moon. And what I've done here is this is the same chart as we saw, um, that we just saw in the last one, but I added the asteroids because when you add the asteroids, what you see is that we have a grand trine in water because we added Vesta in Scorpio, trining Mars in Cancer. This is really potent, guys. This is really potent. And then of course that connects to not just the sun, but also to Saturn. Saturn, Mars, Vesta in Scorpio. Uh, a lot of people, I think, are here to witness what we're going through. And part of that witnessing is to see it and to leave. So I feel like there could be some sort of mass exit for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it could be some uh, geographic geo some Earth thing. But we'll see. We'll see. We don't know. I don't know. I can't say that I know it. We do have Pluto conjunct Pallas Athena. This is government. Okay. This is some of the government stuff that's going on. And let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we have Pallas at Juno, which is about relationship in a trine to the North Node. So there is this sense with this eclipse of a realization around being allies to each other, I think. All right, and then the last thing that happens is Mercury goes retrograde. Okay. Okay, and the last thing we're going to look at is Saturday, March 15th. Which incidentally vibrates to a 27-9. We're in a 9 year, so this is also significant. The 27-9 in the tarot is the Ace of Wands. This is the root of fire. This is the hand of God offering us the staff of life or the staff of life, right? This is spirit. This is creativity. This is actually associated with the sign of Leo. Mercury retrograde at 10 of Aries. A teacher gives new symbolic forms to traditional images. It was harder to say than you think it is. Reviewing old understandings. Now, of course, Mercury retrograde in its nature is reviewing old understandings, right? And of course, we also have Venus retrograde. So we're going to have both Venus and Mercury retrograde at this point. And this 10 degrees of Aries was I believe the degree, well, I think it was 11 or 10 but that degree area, it gets activated again because that's where Venus went retrograde as well. All right, let me just make sure. Yeah, so here we have stationed Mercury here. Okay. Um, it shows, reviewing old understanding, it shows mature wisdom to see our emotional dramas as symbolic. There are life lessons, uniqueness in perception and attitude. One of the reasons why many of us readers do this work is to give you a different perspective. As we mature, we need to cast off previous models of reality and reinterpret past experiences, seeing them more clearly as metaphors, having deeper meaning than we saw when we were previously absorbed in self-establishment. We are better able and more prepared now to contemplate our feelings as symbolic indicators rather than to get lost in them. So we need to feel the feelings, but we have to also have the perspective. And as this being the beginning of the Mercury retrograde cycle, this is an opportunity for us to really explore. Now, Mercury, I believe, retrogrades back into Pisces, just as Venus will retrograde back into Pisces. So it's both these planets start their retrogrades in Aries, moving back into Pisces. And so as they move back into Pisces, they will be sort of rediving into that great cosmic sea, that great morphogenic field that is Pisces. And when they come back out, they will come out different, renewed, and better for it. So March promises to be just one of those months where um, I feel that uh, a lot of things are going to be happening. You do not have to be aware of everything that's happening. You do not have to react to everything that is happening. If you're finding that that you're paying attention and it's upsetting you, then you need to step back from that, either by seeing it from a different perspective, trying to stay as less in it in a way, or just completely separating yourself if that's what you have to do for your health and well-being. It is all here in service for us to say, is this really what we want to see? Is this really what we want to do? Is this really the life that we want to live? We are co-creative with spirit, but if you can't make up your mind, or can't make up your heart or which direction you want to take it, these retrogrades are going to give us an opportunity to do that. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Let me know. And thank you again for your time and for your time. Time is precious and your attention. And hopefully this helps somebody. Take care, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Namaste.